Yo, before we get into this, I need you to understand something. What I'm about to tell you is not just tea, not just drama, not just another celebrity scandal. This is potentially the biggest expose in hip-hop history, and 50 Cent is pushing harder than ever to make season 2 of The Reckoning happen. 50 Cent is making moves, dropping hints, and basically forcing their hand. And with the insane success of season 1, with the 140 hours of never-before-seen footage still sitting in a vault somewhere, and with 50's track record of getting what he wants, it's looking more and more likely that this is going to happen. We're talking about Kim Porter's mysterious death finally getting the spotlight it deserves. We're talking about Tupac's ex, Kadada Jones, and her alleged relationship with Diddy after Pac died. We're talking witness tampering caught on camera, lawyers potentially going down, and an entire network of powerful people in Hollywood who might finally get exposed. If 50 gets his way, and trust me, he usually does, this next season isn't just a documentary, it's evidence. It's a reckoning in every sense of the word. So buckle up, because what 50 Cent is campaigning to unleash could change everything we thought we knew about the music industry. Let's get into it. Alright, so let's talk about why 50 Cent is going so hard to make season 2 happen, and why Netflix would be crazy not to greenlight it. When The Reckoning season 1 dropped on Netflix, it didn't just do well, it absolutely dominated. Like, we're talking numbers that made Netflix executives lose their minds. 50 Cent himself said he expected it to be big, but even he was shocked. The documentary outperformed Stranger Things. Let me say that again for the people in the back. It beat Stranger Things, one of the most successful shows in streaming history. Within days, The Reckoning became the #1 most watched show in the world. Not just in America, the world. People were talking about it everywhere. The receptionist at 50's doctor's office was discussing it. Random dude on the subway was talking about it. It became a cultural phenomenon so fast that even Netflix couldn't have predicted it. And trust me, after some of the things that came out in season 1, there were probably a lot of powerful people hoping this would just fade away quietly. But here's the thing about streaming platforms. They follow the money, period. And The Reckoning brought in numbers that you just can't ignore. So even though season 2 isn't officially confirmed yet, 50 Cent knows he's got leverage. He's got the receipts, he's got the footage, and most importantly, he's got the audience demanding more. The success of season 1 wasn't just about views though, it was about impact. People weren't just watching it and moving on. They were dissecting every frame, pausing timestamps, connecting dots, creating Reddit threads that went hundreds of comments deep. The conversation wouldn't die down. And that's when you know you've got something that needs a follow-up. 50 even put it on YouTube, expanding the reach even further. This man is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. He knows exactly what he's doing. Create maximum visibility, keep people talking, build anticipation, and then use all that momentum to pressure Netflix into giving him season 2. And with those kinds of numbers, with that kind of cultural impact, 50's not just hoping for a renewal. He's actively campaigning for it. He's dropping hints on Instagram. He's doing interviews where he mentions the 140 hours of footage they didn't use. He's keeping the conversation alive because he knows that as long as people are talking, Netflix is listening. Insiders say meetings have been happening. Nothing's signed yet, but the conversations are real. And if 50 gets what he's pushing for, he wants near complete creative control. No holding back this time. No censoring the tough stuff. Everything on the table. Now let's talk about 50's biggest bargaining chip, the 140 hours of footage that Diddy recorded himself. This is the Ace Up 50 sleeve, and he's been waving it around like, you really gonna leave all this content on the cutting room floor? Pause for a second and think about how insane that is. Diddy, while facing federal charges, while his entire empire is crumbling, decided to hire a videographer to document everything. Strategy meetings with his lawyers, phone calls, private conversations, behind-the-scenes moments that were never meant to see the light of day. Why would he do this? According to sources close to the production, Diddy genuinely believed he was going to beat the case. He thought he was untouchable, so in his mind, he was creating a documentary about his triumphant comeback. Can you imagine the level of ego it takes to think that way while federal agents are literally raiding your houses? But here's where it gets even crazier. When things started going sideways, when the case started looking bad, the cameras didn't stop rolling. They kept recording everything. And now 50 Cent allegedly has access to all of it. Let me tell you what's supposedly in that footage, because this is what 50's been teasing and this is what he's using to push for season 2. According to him and multiple sources, there's allegedly video evidence of witness tampering. There's supposedly footage of a guy named Neil who worked directly under Diddy, allegedly offering people money, promising to pay for their lawyers, giving out addresses. That's textbook obstruction of justice if it's real. There's supposedly footage of Diddy discussing legal strategy in ways that could implicate not just him, but his entire legal team. TMZ's Harvey Levin straight up said that if those tapes show what people are claiming they show, Diddy's lawyers should feel betrayed because he essentially recorded confidential attorney-client conversations without telling them. Now, I gotta say allegedly here because we haven't seen most of this footage yet, but 50 Cent has been out here saying it exists and he wants season 2 to be where we finally see it. Think about what that means. If Netflix gives him the green light and releases that footage, we're not just watching a documentary, we're potentially watching evidence that could be used in court. This crosses the line from entertainment into something much bigger. And here's the kicker, only fragments of this footage made it into season 1, just little pieces here and there. The bulk of those 140 hours is allegedly still sitting somewhere, waiting. 50 Cent has been teasing it on Instagram relentlessly, dropping hints, saying things like, "I don't understand why he filmed himself, but I'm glad he did. The people supporting him will be very quiet when more comes out." That's not just trash talk, that's 50 building public pressure for Netflix to greenlight season 2. He's essentially saying, look, we've got the content, we've got the audience, what are we waiting for? And honestly, it's working. The more he talks about it, the more people demand it, the harder it becomes for Netflix to say no. But yo, here's where 50's campaign for season 2 gets really serious, really emotional, really necessary. Because if he gets his way, the main focus is going to be Kim Porter. Kim Porter was Diddy's longtime partner, the mother of 4 of his children, and by all accounts, one of the most genuine, graceful people in Hollywood. On November 15th, 2018, she was found unresponsive in her home. She was 47 years old. The coroner ruled her death as lobar pneumonia, a natural cause, but almost immediately people started asking questions, and those questions have never stopped. R&B singer Al B. Sure publicly said he didn't believe her death was natural. He straight up questioned the official story. Others close to Kim whispered that she had grown fearful in her final years. Rumors said she was working on a tell-all book, claimed she had compromising footage, allegations that she knew too much and was planning to go public. Now, none of this has been proven. There's no smoking gun. But the reason these rumors persist is because of the pattern. When you see that surveillance footage of Diddy assaulting Cassie, when you hear testimony after testimony about violence and control, people start connecting dots. According to sources, producers of season 1 actually considered a whole segment on Kim Porter. They had material, they had people willing to talk, but they decided it was too sensitive, too legally complicated, too dangerous. They cut it. But 50 Cent is not letting this go. He's been vocal about wanting season 2 to put Kim's story front and center, her life, her relationship with Diddy, the warning signs, and most importantly, the unanswered questions about her death. This is one of his main arguments for why season 2 needs to happen. Kim's story got buried. She deserves better. People deserve answers. If there's even a chance her death wasn't as straightforward as the official report says, it deserves investigation. Netflix hasn't confirmed they're willing to go there. That's a massive legal risk. But 50's pushing hard. He's making the case that this isn't about ratings or revenge. It's about giving voice to a woman whose story got silenced, about demanding answers her family deserves, about showing the human cost of unchecked power. If 50 can't convince Netflix to really dig into Kim Porter's story, that might be the most important thing this documentary series could ever do. That's what he's fighting for. And that's what can make season 2 something way bigger than just entertainment. Now, let me put you on to something else that 50's been hinting at for season 2, something a lot of people don't even know about. We need to talk about Kidada Jones. Kidada Jones is Quincy Jones' daughter, but more importantly, she was Tupac Shakur's fiancée. They were engaged when he was murdered in 1996. She was devastated. By all accounts, she really loved him. Here's where it gets wild. After Tupac died, Kidada allegedly ended up in some kind of relationship with Diddy. Yeah. Tupac's ex-fiancée allegedly got involved with the man many people believe had something to do with Tupac's death. And according to rumors that have circulated for years, unconfirmed but persistent, there might even be a child from that relationship. Let that sink in. If those rumors are true, Diddy potentially has a child with the woman who was going to marry the man he allegedly had killed. The level of darkness in that, the disrespect to Tupac's memory, it's hard to even process. This has been one of Hollywood's most whispered about secrets for years. Very few people talk about it publicly. Kidada stayed quiet about her personal life since Tupac's death. But 50's been dropping hints that if he gets season 2, this situation needs to be addressed. According to 50's perspective, it's not just gossip, it's about the web of relationships that surrounded Tupac's murder. It's about control and power, and how Diddy allegedly inserted himself into every corner of that tragedy. It's about patterns of behavior that paint a disturbing picture. Now, will Netflix actually let him go there? That's dealing with Quincy Jones' family. That's dealing with Tupac's legacy. That's opening wounds a lot of powerful people want to stay closed. But 50's made it clear that if he gets creative control for season 2, this is one of the stories he wants to tell. And honestly, if handled right, it could add a whole new dimension to understanding everything that happened in that era. Alright, so let's talk about what 50's really angling for with season 2, and why some people in Hollywood are probably praying this doesn't get greenlit. Because if 50 gets his way, Diddy won't be the only one catching heat. When season 1 dropped, the internet immediately started asking questions about everyone in Diddy's orbit. Jay-Z, Beyonce, Usher, Mary J. Blige. All these people who partied with him, did business with him, were photographed with him for decades. Where are they now? Why is everyone so quiet? 50 Cent has been poking at this silence relentlessly. When people accused the industry of teaming up against him, he posted, "My momentum make them all get together, LOL." That's 50 basically saying, yeah, they're scared, and they should be. Because here's what 50's been hinting at in his campaign for season 2. If that 140 hours of footage exists like he says it does, if it shows other celebrities at these alleged gatherings, if it shows industry executives enabling bad behavior, if it shows a whole network of people who knew what was happening and did nothing, then he wants all of that in season 2. Now, Netflix hasn't agreed to this yet. That's important to understand. This is what 50 wants. This is what he's pushing for. But releasing footage that potentially implicates other major celebrities, that's a legal nightmare. That's the kind of thing that could result in massive lawsuits. Netflix's legal team is probably having panic attacks just thinking about it. But 50's argument is simple. The truth matters more than protecting the powerful. If these people were complicit, if they enabled abuse, if they looked the other way while people got hurt, then they should face consequences too. Not just Diddy, everyone. There are already rumors circulating about who might be in that unreleased footage. Big names, people you wouldn't expect. And 50's been fanning those flames, keeping people guessing, building anticipation. Because the more people speculate, the more they demand answers. The more pressure Netflix feels to greenlight season 2. Publicists are already in overdrive. PR teams have been scrubbing old photos from the internet since season 1 dropped. Lawyers have been sending cease and desist letters. There's reportedly a panic happening behind the scenes in Hollywood right now, and it's all because of what might be in those tapes and what 50 might expose if he gets season 2. But here's the thing, 50 knows he needs to be strategic. He can't just demand Netflix expose everyone and expect them to say yes. He needs to make the case that it's newsworthy, that it's in the public interest, that it's about accountability and not just revenge. And from what he's been saying publicly, that's exactly the angle he's taking. He's positioning season 2 as a necessary continuation of the story, as a way to show the full scope of what was happening, as a chance to give victims a voice and hold enablers accountable. That's smart. That's the kind of pitch that might actually work on Netflix executives who are weighing the legal risks against the potential cultural impact and ratings. Look, I know a lot of people think 50 Cent just wants season 2 because he's got beef with Diddy and he wants to keep twisting the knife. And sure, there's probably some truth to that. These two have been going at each other for decades. But I think there's more to it than just petty revenge. 50's been saying in interviews that the reckoning isn't just about Diddy. It's about a system that protected him for decades. It's about an industry that turned a blind eye because money was being made. It's about powerful men who could do whatever they wanted to whoever they wanted, and the people around them just let it happen. How many artists got exploited? How many women got hurt? How many people's careers got destroyed because they spoke up or refused to play along? The answer is way more than we'll probably ever know. But what The Reckoning did, and what 50 wants season 2 to do even more, is show people that silence has a cost. that complicity has consequences, that eventually the truth comes out. Aubrey O'Day was hospitalized after season 1 aired because of the emotional weight of reliving her trauma. She said on camera that she doesn't even know if she was assaulted because she's blocked so much out. That's the reality for so many people who got caught in Diddy's orbit, and 50's arguing that their stories deserve to be told in a follow-up season. Kim Porter's story deserves to be told. The artists who got cheated out of royalties deserve to have their stories told. The people who were threatened into silence deserve to have their stories told. That's the case 50's making to Netflix. That's why he's pushing so hard. Yeah, the beef is real. Yeah, he wants to see Diddy's reputation completely destroyed, but he's also making a legitimate argument that season 2 would serve a purpose beyond entertainment. It would be about accountability. It would be a mirror held up to an industry that has operated in shadows for way too long. And honestly, when you look at the success of season 1, when you see how many people connected with those stories, how many survivors felt seen for the first time, you start to understand why 50's not letting this go. He knows he's got something important here, something bigger than just another documentary, and he's using every bit of his influence to make sure season 2 happens. So, where does this leave us? Look, season 2 is not officially confirmed yet. Let me make that crystal clear. Netflix hasn't announced anything. There's no release date, there's no signed contract that we know of. But 50 Cent is pushing for it harder than I've ever seen him push for anything. And with those season 1 numbers, it's getting real hard for Netflix to say no. The real question is how far they're willing to go. Will they let 50 release the alleged 140 hours? Will they dig into Kim Porter's death? Will they risk exposing everyone who was potentially complicit? Netflix's lawyers are probably fighting this hard, but their content executives are looking at those numbers, thinking about how massive season 2 could be. 50 said it himself. "I'm still in this movie, and I just know the ending." That's a man who's already planned exactly how he wants this to go. Now he's just waiting for Netflix to give him the green light. If you made it this far, drop a comment. Do you think Netflix should greenlight season 2? Do you believe Kim Porter's story needs to be told? And is 50 gonna get what he wants? Hit that like button if you want to see this happen. Subscribe for updates. Turn on notifications because if this gets greenlit, we're covering every single development. Until next time, stay woke, stay informed, and remember, the biggest stories are always the ones someone's trying to keep quiet. Peace.